so profound? What makes it different? I mean, is it really just this nationalistic perspective that we have that, hey, we're Americans, this is where we live, we're going to stand strong? Or is there something different really going on here? Say this again. It was God's country. And when you say it was God's country, do you have extra mics that we can use now?
We don't have robots.
Oh, okay.
They don't robot.
So I will repeat. So you said it was God's country. What do you mean by this? She says she came here 60 years ago, and at that time it was God's country, but she sees it disappearing. Right? What are some of your other thoughts? What makes this Constitution, or what makes this country different? Yes?
That lady that just spoke lived in Germany when Hitler was in control.
Wow. Yeah. She said that when you came to this country, or you lived in Germany when Hitler was in control. Amazing. You've seen both sides. And you know what I think? When I hear something like this, I have to tell you, why is it so atypical to have meetings like this each and every day? We don't have these very often. I mean, we have them once a week, and there are various organizations, but when you go to these organizations, relatively speaking, to the rest of the population in the Phoenix area, these groups are relatively small. Right? This is a relatively small group. Why is this? Why do you believe that it is so difficult to get people out to talk about the things we're talking about today?
Apathy.
Apathy. Who said this? What was your name?
Jim?
Jim. When you say apathy, what is it that you mean by this?
They just don't want. I don't think people really take what's going on really seriously. Our country is in deep problems right now. I'm 80 years old, and I can see it from the time I was a kid, how everything was great, and now people are very apprehensive.
Why are we apathetic as a people? Any thoughts? Why are we apathetic as a people? Because I think you nailed it. You nailed this thing. Why are we apathetic as a people? Yes. This is
right here. Thank you, Wilbur. I think part of it is and this is one reason that there are so many white hairs here. I'm one of the crowd. Is that the younger generation is so darn busy. All they're doing is running and running and running, and in between checking their phones and checking their computer. It is such a different way of life altogether that we're at a place in our life where we've got time to tune in. We're looking at it going, what the heck is going on? It just doesn't make sense. And I think we've got 3 kids, and all 3 of them are running in every different direction, not plugged into this kind of thing at all. But they'll listen to their friends, they'll listen to the everyday media, and say, well, that looks like the best deal. I don't know. And I mean, as a youth, you don't really know. You don't understand politics. I didn't when I was 20 or 30.
What was your name?
My name is Robin.
Robin. How do we fix this problem?
Well, I pray.
Apathy to the younger generation.
I pray every day that they'll wake up and smell the coffee and be able to tune in. Another way, I think my husband and I were just talking about it when our first speaker talked about social media and how the kids, they relate to each other that way. I don't. We got people in our own generation that are not tuned in at all. And I said, we can relate to our generation. We can talk and we can speak and say, if you thought about how we were founded, and be persuasive in that way to take a look at where we're at and where we've come from. So there are people in our, 60 and older generation that we have an opportunity to influence as well. So, for the younger generation, I'm not really sure how to get there.
Let's talk about this for a moment. The young man who asked the question, you mentioned Ron Paul. Is that you, correct? What was your name?
Jason.
Jason. How old are you?
21.
Is there anyone here younger than 21 here? Where? Very good, over here. Absolutely, right.
Over at that table.
Jason.
The little ones.
Over here.
And the little ones. Very good. I have a question for you guys. I have a question. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Do you? Come here. Come here. What was your name, buddy? James, I have a question for you. Are you ready? Do you love America? Boom, right here. Little fist bump right there. I love you. Jason, what do you think it is about your generation? How are we going to awaken these people? What are your thoughts? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. But you're awakened, right? You recognize that it's important to be able to cast your vote and to recognize that there's a moral element to limited government, and we need to bring it back to that. How do we awaken them?
Did you say moral element?
A moral element to limited government, yes. What are your thoughts on this?
I guess I think to study these things because I'm a new creature, reborn again of God, and so He wants me to do these things, so I should do them. That includes studying my culture, trying to witness to people.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. You know, yes.
This is pretty basic. You see this book, it's right?
Yeah.
Look how small it is, right? When man gets involved, you know what man does? He violates the KISS principle. Do you guys know what the KISS principle is? Keep it simple, stupid. If we would do that, we could get back to basics just like our forefathers. They kept it simple. No, we got to complicate things, and I mean, just look at our IRS tax codes. 30,000 pages. We overcomplicate things. We think we know best. God knows best.
Let me see this. What is this here? This is a Bible. Anybody know how many words are in this? About 740,000 words in the Bible. Anybody know, you brought up the IRS code. Anybody know how many words are in the IRS code? About 3.5 million. God governs the entire world for over 5,000 years with that book right there. And yet you've got an IRS code trying to govern a specific area of society, and it can't do so efficiently. We're going to talk about with time what we should believe and what we know to be good elements to good government. What is necessary for good government? We'll get there in just a minute, but thank you both. Yes?
Given into technology. The kids are busy with this technology. We don't have to worry about them. They're sitting behind the computer and having fun for hours a day. And we still have freedom of speech, and we ought to use it, to teach our children about it. And grandchildren, but we have influence.
Very good.
Young people here.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. And with that, I'd like to encourage you to do something that I do in my own family. I have 6 children, 5 boys and a little girl. We finally had a girl after our 6th one. She's 2 years old now. And one night a week in our home, we have Constitution night. Sunday night, we all gather around. And I have a 9-year-old boy who is, they all do fantastic. My 12-year-old boy, if we have more time, I tell you incredible stories about him. My 9-year-old boy has seemed to he's finding his niche with stumping political candidates. He's done 3 of them so far, individuals running for the United States Congress, asking them things like, where do you get authority? How many grants of authority do you have in the Constitution? And these individuals can't answer the question in large part. This is a 9-year-old boy. And so we have this Constitution night, one night a week. And we come together and we do it in a fun way. And we do it in an exciting way. Because I will tell you this, if Obama does anything well, you want to know what he does well? He markets his message well. Even though there's not a whole lot of substance to his message, he markets his message well. And so this is what we try to do with the Academy. This should be fun. Recognize it's hard, but standing as a soldier for freedom, standing as a soldier for Christ, should be an honor. It should be fun. But recognize that as we engage in this, it's going to be hard work. And are we willing, once again, to pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor? That's the tough part. Oh, wow. Is it fun? You want me to do that? Pledge my life? My fortune? You kidding me? The government's taking all the money. Really, your fortunes. Your sacred honor. Everything that is within you. Absolutely. So we're having this, to give you an example of what we did with our family once. This was a year ago. It was quite cold outside. It was January. And I'd taken our kids out to the pool and began to tell them one of my favorite stories of George Washington, December 25th, 1776. And I'm telling them, as I have them gathered around the pool, I said, you know, these men, there are 2,500 men. A third of those men had no shoes. And they were going to engage in a battle across that river. Months before, there were 25,000 troops. There they stood with 2,500. 1 in 10 had the courage to meet with George Washington December 25th, 1776. And as I told them this story, I jumped into the pool. And it was cold. It was freezing. And I sat there and I told the story about how these men crossed the Delaware and they won a battle. They conquered 700 professional German soldiers. And they revitalized the legitimacy of the revolution. And I told my boys, I said, you jump in here. You jump in here. I'm like, getting the toe in the water. Come on, bunch of wimps, let's go, jump in. And I finally, my 12-year-old boy jumps in. And I'm convinced that that one experience has created something in his mind that he understands to a small degree what it means to be free. Because it's not so much in our society that we don't understand freedom. It's that we don't understand oppression. Right? Because we talk about freedom since we're small. We say, oh yeah, we're a free country. But we really don't know what it means to be free. But we have a people in large part that doesn't understand what it means to live under that sort of thing. Right? East Germany. Yeah, there's a question here.
Yes, my question is, why can't we have the Constitution for elementary school on out to college? I was a teacher, and we can teach sex ed, we can teach all kinds of things that children really don't need, but the Constitution is not available. What can we do to make sure that we have that?
Thank you for asking that question. Because I will tell you that the Academy is one of the only groups going into the schools, both private and public, teaching the Constitution. We're going, this lady right here, Margaret, she's the manager for the Academy. And she's opened up some incredible doors for the Academy to go into both public and private schools and teach the message we're talking about here today. And you want to see kids get on the edge of their seat and start arguing back and forth? It's incredible. And you have to stop and remind them, hey, do you guys realize you're arguing about the Constitution? Do you recognize you're arguing about freedom? They said, Constitution, what's that? Right, they're arguing. I go in and I'll talk to them about First Amendment, Fourth Amendment principles, and these kids will go at it. And at the end of our trainings that we do in there with these kids, spending an hour, 2, 3 hours with them, these kids are on fire. And I will tell you that they feel in large part like they've been duped. They've been played for chumps. Because they've been told that this Constitution's outdated. Right? It was good for those men 225 years ago, but it can't address the issues of the day. The bottom line is that the issues that government is trying to implement have been tried and tested. Those are the outdated ideas. It's not so much our Constitution. As Sheriff Mack said, we're not in the problem that we're in because we follow the Constitution too closely. Right? It's because we've deviated from the thing. People. We're able to fight this battle because freedom still exists to a degree that allows us to engage. Right? We haven't lost this thing, and I'll tell you, God's not through with this country yet. He is absolutely not through with this country, and we will win this battle. And if not, what are you willing to do to make sure that we don't, in fact, lose? Are you willing to go down fighting? Are you willing to give everything that you have? Your resources, your time? Are you willing to give those things?